Looking like he's about to make a comeback. Look at that knight that's gone all the way in.
Beating Caruana along the way, beating some of the world's best players, Aronian and others. Okay, what to do?
Super tough.
Calmer.
Super tough position.
Calmer heart rate there.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Spikes up.
Spikes up. Oof.
And actually, as I was going to say, as our voices dissipate, just think about right now the intensity. For those of you at home in that room, it is just as quiet in there, if not quieter.
Yeah. You can hear a pin drop. You can hear the players pour their water. The moves being made.
ASMR.
Commentary.
Well, again, for these players, right? You know a number of the other boards have finished. There's maybe a small congregation of people huddled around your board. People wait on bated breath to see if Abdi Satorov can do it, if Magnus Carlsen can wiggle his way out of this one.
And yet, all the players will be seeing is those 64 squares. They will not be aware of who's around them, what's been going on. It's all about what's going on the board. Magnus now down to 3 minutes. He's going to be playing blitz chess now for the rest of this game.
This is blitz territory. And the clock keeps ticking. Magnus's defense is not easy. Is he going to use the king to be an active piece? That's playing with fire.
Well, and we talked about him using the clock as a weapon. Now it's a weapon being used against him.
A big one.
Double-edged sword.
1.5 minutes. It is a double-edged sword because if you were to play against the clock, you have to make fast moves, and that could be a mistake. Magnus blinks. He does take the queen.
It is the best move in the position.
He's doing it at a time where white should not, or maybe can, but probably should not take back the queen with a pawn, as the white knight will be falling in the process as well. So that was the ulterior motive behind planting the black rook next to the knight. If the white rook takes back the black queen, the damage is limited. The black knight will sit on its post for a lot longer. It's all about the black knight. If it survives, then Magnus has chances to build a fortress to lock things down, hope to stem the tide. But if the black knight is ever captured or removed from the board, things could turn.
So taking the queen with the pawn would be a bad idea here for Nodderbeck. It would give away a chunk of his advantage simply because of after the chop, 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 trade, you pick up the knight. Nodderbeck picks up the knight. He would end up with a double pawn. Not that much to play for in that endgame, but he's slowed down, so the decision isn't that clear to him.
It's not so clear, and look at his eyes darting around the board. Very quickly, Nodderbeck. That's pure calculation right there. Well, that's some very quick eye movements.
That's very intense.
Oh, the panic.
He's got to take it with the rook. Is there a huge difference in evaluation of taking it with the pawn and the rook?
Keeping the advantage to the maximum would be taking with the white rook right now. That would be an over +1 advantage, according to the computer. Taking with the pawn would halve that advantage.
Oof. Big moment.
Big moment. And I did say getting rid of that black knight is the key, but you cannot do it at the cost of your own knight.
But Nodderbeck fans, they've got to be sweating right now. I mean, they're screaming, take it with the rook, but he's not making a move, so he is considering pawn takes queen.
I think he's going to take with the pawn. I have a feeling. Ooh. It's the more forcing of the two, and Nodderbeck has quite a forceful style. He wants to clarify things. He wants a clearer path.
Yeah, dislodges the black knight at the very least. It kind of connects those two pawns as well towards the center of the board, which maybe you're thinking about as a resource later on in the game. It's supported by that rook for future pushes towards that final rank. There's a lot of reasons maybe to do it.
Nodderbeck's definitely stressed out right now. He's feeling the tension. You know, your goal is inside what you want. You've done everything wrong, and that's when it spikes up. That's when you really feel the nerves. And he's...
When the clock ticks down, you want simplifications. There's a human urge, human instinct to just want a clearer board. Makes it feel like you have easier choices in the future, but you also make life easier for your opponent. That is the problem here.
But right now, it's between these two moves for him, right? And there's a huge difference. One lets him play for the win. The other one gives a big chunk of the advantage away.
And time's becoming a factor. You saw him check the clock there just a moment ago as he's continuing to work through the calculations as quickly as his brain will possibly allow.
He has to take it with the rook. He's about to play.
The longer he thinks, I think the more likely it is he does take with the rook. But this is so tense. Taking with the pawn, I don't think Magnus is going to lose after that.
What does he not like about taking it with the rook? What is stopping him from making that decision?
I think just the fact that the white knight doesn't have too many ways home. So he can basically force an exchange of knights if he takes with the pawn, and he does.
Oh, he does! Oh my goodness.
Look at what's about to happen. The black knight is going to fall, but Magnus will not trade the remaining rook. Magnus will keep this black rook on the board. A trade of rooks, and he will not be able to compete on the open lines. He does keep his rook remaining. Normally, when you have this material imbalance, bishop for rook, you want to keep your only rook left. And now these doubled pawns are actually easy targets.
What a miss. What a big miss by Nordebek. It was clear that if you trade the rooks, as black, you're busted, right? Yeah. You can't defend any of the pawns. He's coming in with his rook, the one on the center line. The move looked like it was going to be a long one, David. That will be my guess. Either a check or the 7th rank.
Ooh, Magnus needs to be careful now. Again, according to the computer, one move. Only one move to hold equality. Which way to go? Right or left?
Say no more. You know, if I had 5 seconds on the clock, I would go center of the board.
So would I, because I'd want to challenge that rook and maybe get my king more involved later in the game. Thinking about as pieces come off, usually the kings want to be more active.
I would go to the center every time without a hesitation. And Magnus, of course, finds the better move.
Oh, what a guy.
What a player.
Well, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him.
Wow, going to the center was actually wrong because it would have allowed white to give more checks, and there was actually a mating attack in the air, using the 2 white rooks together against the black king. More important this time was hiding. Not normal in an endgame, not normal to go passive, but hiding the black king away prevents any attack against it. And now Magnus has the opportunity to seek counterplay. The black pawn could push forward, for example. If the whole left side of the board disappears, by the way here, if all of the pawns disappear from the left half of the board, this one is going to be a draw. White can create no passed pawns on the right flank alone.
I mean, how impressive was that? This is a sort of what we call a counterintuitive move, right? You're always taught to play in the center. That's the hand move that you want to make. And Magnus, he's superhuman. He finds the best move in the position, and now he's pushing that other pawn up the board. We see the bar. It's almost level now.
Yeah, and this is where I fear. We go back to what we talked about earlier. It's so rare that Magnus gives you 1 chance in the game, let alone the 2 that he gave Nordebek in this one. But I fear that he won't ever give you a 3rd chance.
Do you think Nordebek realizes that the advantage is gone?
Just never trade queens against Magnus. It's that simple. I don't think Abdul Satarov's going to win this. Whether he realizes or not is another question. I think he knows it's much more difficult than it should have been. He might still think he has some kind of advantage, but actually he should start being careful here with white, because the black rook is just coming to feast on some pawns. All of white's pawns are doubled or isolated, or both. And right now, yeah, no real targets. Black's king safe. Black's bishop is the star here. It actually is defended and defends a key pawn of its own.
The dream plan that one would want as white if you want to play for a win is to try to win the 2 flank pawns, right? To create a passer on the left side of the board if you're Nordebek. You pick up that A pawn, you pick up that B pawn, and start marching up the board with that 1 lone pawn left. And it does help that both pawns are on dark squares, cannot be defended by Magnus's bishop. That would be something that would give me hope if I'm white here.
Yeah, fully agree. That's definitely his plan, Nordebek. He wants to keep his A pawn alive. He knows the others will fall. The white pawns, the double pawns in the center, those are dropping. But that's why Magnus's last move was such a star. He's going to push his B pawn forward next, trade off that one. That is the key pawn to trade off. The white pawn in the corner is the only potential queen in this position. The black bishop actually holds the gate on its own of the central pawn.
You know, I'm just wondering if at some moment you're able to trade, and then Magnus is able to plant the rook, X-raying white's king, and start actually putting pressure on those pawns, the lone pawns, with the rooks on the offside. You know, you've got the rook coming down, the bishop joining with some pins on the board, and you're looking at ideas perhaps playing for more as black.
Yeah, why not? Ambition, always a nice thing in endgames, especially when the clocks are ticking down. I think Magnus would take a draw though.
Yeah, rook sliding down to b5 is the expectation here, right?
Yeah, I think one of these 2 squares, I'm not sure it matters so much, because the next move is not to get greedy and take the white pawns in the center. It's just to trade off this white pawn in the corner by pushing this black pawn next. That is the key idea for Magnus Carlsen, but your move on the board. And white will now take a pawn. Not sure which direction.
Yeah, I think the only reason I preferred that is because if I'm going to take one of those 2 pawns, it's the one that still lets me move to my opponent's side of the board afterwards. Again, like you said, he's going to avoid taking that pawn for now, but that is the continued threat. If I were to take the one that was just above it, I'm still locked behind my opponent's pawn after I've taken it.
I think good logic. I would have also chosen this one. It just feels like the nicer pawn to get. Also, the black bishop then would have a nice safe square to sit back on.
Yeah.
Okay, moment of truth.
If he does push the pawn, crazy line, right? Not sure if it'll happen or if it's even good or not, but it could force a rook trade. And I wonder if that's something that you want, because white could slide one of the 2 rooks. Well, I would do the one on the right side. And just not giving Magnus the time to actually escape with the rook trade. I see the bar doesn't move, so it's probably still fine for black.
Let's play through this variation. This is what's going through Magnus Carlsen's head right now. He hasn't moved yet. We'll put the board back as soon as he moves. There would be a pawn capture. The rook would slide. And now the black king can start coming. I think this is the key. Only move, apparently. Magnus would need to see he needs to bring his king into the action. And now start hunting down pawns with his king. They cannot be defended, and the white rook cannot use this square to cut off the king. That is the key. The black king is going to come and eat these 2 pawns.
Struggling with research papers or facing writer's block? Meet Jenny AI, your new writing partner. Supercharge your writing with Jenny AI's autocomplete, helping you write 10 times faster with auto in-text citations. Loved by over 2 million academics worldwide, Jenny AI is trusted by top universities and businesses for research and writing. From essays to research papers, Jenny AI offers powerful features like paraphrasing, source-based generation, and an AI chat assistant. Customize your writing style, manage your research library, and never write alone again. Jenny AI is here to expand your notes into full paragraphs. Join the community of empowered writers. Start writing with Jenny AI today. It's free and a game changer for your academic and creative writing.
The black bishop and this pawn in order to get rid, but the black rook will happily come behind and stop everything a bit later. These white pawns are just too weak. You need passed pawns in endgames, and Nodebek doesn't have any. I think he might trade the rooks and hope that Magnus doesn't find that king move, but of course he's seen it by now.
But even if you haven't seen it, I think he definitely has, because Magnus Carlsen clearly sees every single thing. But when you get to that moment, because it's such a forced sequence of moves, I think that's where you spot it.
You find it. Oof. Poor Nodebek, he's done everything right in this game. He still can't win. Defensive skills 99 for Magnus in this last stage.
How do you beat this guy in this form? And who does it?
Right now, nobody. Right now, nobody.
And it was,
I'll tell you that much.
Did lose to Arjun, though. Round robin.
in the round robin.
Game 2.
That's true.
Before he warmed.
That's true. And you know what? Arjun is on the other side of the bracket. So that could be a preview of what could be our finals here in Paris.
Should we take a quick jump to that one?
We can jump over to that one. There's far more pieces on the board, so there's still plenty that can be determined or determinant to the outcome of this game. But just like yesterday, now as we get into those faster or rather time trouble for both players, it's Hikaru who does have a small advantage in this one. Question is, can he convert?
Hikaru, we jump in at a moment where both sides have just made mutual mistakes. Quick backtrack the last few moves. The position was a bit level a bit earlier, but yeah, Hikaru emerging with an extra pawn on the side of the board. Not the strongest pawn, can be a target. The black rook slid across. Here, Hikaru made a bit of a slip, allowing the black rook in. This wasn't spotted by Arjun, who brought his queen forward. And now this pawn is hanging. I actually think Hikaru takes this. The white bishops are super strong. I know it's a kind of closed center, but the bishops control everything, and Arjun drops back with his bishop.
Ooh, computer likes that even less.
It's because there are tactics in the air.
I was just going to say there's a feeling that something should happen right now. With the queen on the other side, the rook on the other side, white having the connect 4. And Hikaru, he turns away. Has he spotted something?
This is Hikaru. Partly he's being a streamer and he's doing it for the drama, but I think he genuinely sees chess better on a board, on a screen, essentially, rather than those physical pieces. He's so used to sitting at home on the computer, so he's just looking at that screen, making sure the tactics work in his favor.
I mean, I think that's also going to become more and more of a thing throughout the chess world, as the majority of people across planet Earth at this point probably interact with chess through a digital screen. I know for myself, I feel like I'm playing a different game if I'm sitting at an actual physical board.
Look at him. He sees it.
Yeah, he's
whatever
confident.
the tactic is, and David, maybe you will highlight it. Maybe we'll watch Hikaru play it out. But he's found something incredible for white in this position, and it's going to happen on the board.
It's going to happen. This pawn in the corner is actually a really useful distraction, pushing the black pieces to that flank, and he's reaching for a black pawn. He's going to take a black pawn.
There it is.
He's going to win this game, Hikaru. Big favorite now. Double exclamation point because it's a sacrifice. The knight can be captured. Otherwise, you're just 2 pawns up. I don't think Arjun can allow this white knight to continue hopping, allow it to survive. But once the knight is captured, the white pawn in the center will step up, and the black bishop will be attacked, and the black knight in the center will be attacked.
Oh, and that's gotta hurt. Sitting across from the kind of classic Hikaru, I just won this head bounce.
He gets the brilliancy, and that is one. And look at him. It's like he's calculated all the way through to checkmate in this one. You take that knight, Hikaru's pawn moves forward, the position's falling apart.
He's woken up.
Oh, look at that. What?
Oh.
What was that?
Was that to himself? Was that to the audience? Was that to his opponent?
Was that yeah. Or was he telling himself, wait a minute, wait a second.
He's trying to calm down that heart rate.
Maybe it's not so simple, but back to the
head bob.
The head bounce. That's the head bob that usually tells me he's in solid position.
Hikaru Nakamura is pure cinema to watch in moments like these.
Eyeing up his opponent as well.
Oh, those white bishops are so good. They control so many squares on the diagonals, and they keep the white king safe. The black king much less comfortable in the corner, but more importantly, the black center has been destroyed.
And Arjun, he keeps thinking, he keeps taking those seconds, but it's too late for the Indian grandmaster.
Yeah, another variation to point out, if the black rook comes down to attack the white queen, the queen can save herself and keep all of the advantages by stepping forward to trade off the black queen. The white knight defends her on that square. White will be 2 full pawns up with the winning advantage. The knight is captured.
He's going to push the pawn.
Disconnects the bishop from the knight.
Yeah. One of these 2 pieces will fall. It was just a temporary sacrifice, but huge, huge interest gained in that little process.
How can Arjun keep this alive? How can he keep his hope alive? It almost feels like he has to give up the bishop and not the knight here. You can't let that pawn survive for too long. Does that give him any chance at all?
I think it's forced. I don't know how much hope he has left there, but he has to take that pawn, then bring his knight back, because there will be 2 knights hanging after the next move. The white rook now attacks this black knight in the corner, and the knight in the center still vulnerable to the white queen, so you have to connect your knights, but knights don't feel too comfortable like that. We've seen it before this tournament. The white rook will slide back. The problem is as well, the board now opening up, and the white bishops are ready to pounce against the black king. Not many defenders around it.
The bishop pair in this one is definitely worth a lot more than the knight pair. I mean, that's what you really want. Open position, targets on the board, black king feeling unsafe. Notice how all of Arjun's pieces, all of his armies on the left side of the board, and a lone king on the other flank.
Arjun, it feels like he did everything right. It was that one moment again earlier, we said, pulling the trigger, going for it against the best players, you don't get another chance. He let it slip. He actually played a really good opening Arjun Erigaisi, a really good early middle game. But after that, Hikaru, once he got that second lease of life, he's been turning the screw strategically, started to maneuver really nicely, and then tactically has struck.
Did the same thing yesterday, right? Started brilliantly against Hikaru, and I think that's what excites so many people about Arjun Erigaisi as a player, right? But yeah, still when it comes to that, top 1, 2, 3 in the world, overcoming them can really be the challenge, and that will be kind of the marker for his greatness when he can finally achieve such a feat.
Yeah, it's coming, Arjun, but yet to defeat the likes of Fabiano, Hikaru, Magnus on a consistent basis in classical chess.
Well, he's only 21.
It's coming.
He's the world number 4, you know, and it has been the story where he hasn't had those many invitations or opportunities to play against the world's best. So this stage has meant so much to Arjun to be able to play against the absolute elite in the world. And it looks like the road's about to end for him at Freestyle Chess. But what a performance, right? Taking Freestyle Fridays back-to-back, 3 of them, coming in, having an incredible run in the round robin, taking down Fabi, then Magnus. And this position, he's still going to fight it out till the
The biggest mistake when starting a business is investing all your money in a complex website. GoDaddy allows you to create a beautiful catalog for your products and engage directly with your customers. Simplify your online presence with GoDaddy Show and Bio.
Won any there. Lots of draws. Lots of fights. And Arjun jumps forward with the knight, but I think this might be the final move of the game, the final mistake, because the white queen is about to slide up. This is something Hikaru calculated before. You see him peering forward. The white queen is about to line up on this diagonal, and the house is falling, the house is collapsing.
And there's nothing that comes to defend, right? Because you're not only attacking the pawn, you're pinning the pawn. So you're, in a sense, actually threatening to win that knight. And if the knight was to capture the rook, the queen jumps in. Notice how all of Arjun's pieces, including that rook, is undefended. Everything will fall apart once the queen lands with a check on that f5 square.
Yeah, and Arjun must have seen this. I'm surprised he played that move. Better to just drop the king back and keep the game going, but maybe he's just banking on the fact Hikaru doesn't spot it. Hikaru, though.
Hikaru spots everything.
No doubt he's seen this one. It is a sacrifice of the white rook. We should mention the white rook in the corner, in the center will be captured, but the white queen is going to step up, take this pawn, give a check, take the rook, and it's like dominoes. Everything falls with check.
He's reaching out. I think he was reaching for the queen.
This might be the final move of this game. I don't think Arjun can really battle on. He's going to be at least 2 pawns down, maybe more.
It could be the last few moments of seeing Arjun in the quarterfinals bracket.
Yeah, that's a very important note. Still will be alive to play for up to 5th place in this tournament. And for his first time out here on the circuit, even a top 5 finish would still be massive for Arjun Erigaisi.
Yeah, he's still been very impressive, Arjun. And it feels like he could have done even better. Yesterday chances, today chances. But ultimately, Hikaru is Hikaru. And yeah, it'll be great experience for the 21-year-old.
Hikaru looks so determined to finish this off. You know, a winning position in chess is very difficult. But a player like Hikaru, he just gets laser sharp. And he wants to wrap it up as quickly as possible. And it looked like he was reaching for the queen. And there it is. The deadly move, a small one, but with big consequences. That pawn cannot be defended.
Oof, that is tough. There's a pin. The pawn is threatened. The knight is now threatened due to the pin. If you take the white rook, I think you need to take the white rook. The only way to at least grab something for your troubles, then white's queen will be swooping in. And it will be the black rook at the top of the board that drops Hikaru. It was really professional as well. Good tip for everyone at home. Double check your calculation. He paused. He spotted this move 5 minutes ago, but he paused to just ensure he hadn't missed anything.
You know, we spoke about Arjun's run. I mean, for Hikaru as well, just the whole slam, the story of this slam that as it shaped up, starting from WEISSENHAUS, struggling there, not being happy with his performance, talking about retirement after that tournament, you know, with the games that he had. And then he makes a comeback in the American Cup, wins a fantastic tournament, defeating Fabiano Caruana in the finals in that one. And then showing up here, always being in the mix for qualification, and here he is looking for that semi spot.
Yeah, and Hikaru looks like he'll book it in just a moment, as you can see us flipping our board over to Carlsen versus Abdusattorov, because with that final move, a draw was agreed upon between Carlsen and Abdusattorov. That means the world number 1, Magnus, will go straight in to the semifinals.
Yeah, Magnus defending what looked like a almost hopeless position. this final position a draw because black has 4 pawns to white's 2. The black bishop nicely anchored. White's king cannot join the fun due to having to defend this pawn. The black king would come and no way through. A draw, and enough for Magnus.
And just as we jump to this one, seeing Magnus do what maybe felt a little bit impossible with a couple of chances that he gave to Nodirbek Abdusatorov, we do see a couple more trades coming off the board here. It was the knight for the rook, but the queen swoops in with that check that we talked about, and now will grab a rook for herself.
That's 2 pawns to the good for Hikaru Nakamura. More importantly, he has the attack ongoing. The black queen could give a check, but the white bishops will protect their king. And Arjun, he battles on, but these are the final stages. It will be Hikaru Nakamura, it will be Magnus Carlsen, it will be Fabiano Caruana in the semi-finals. We've heard that before. 3 of the greats. Maybe only 1 tiebreak, Tanya, after all of the drama.
And I predicted 2 with 1 going into Armageddon. Well, we've got 1 going in. That might go down further into the wire. I was expecting more of these matches, but such decisive games. It's like the players woke up today and chose violence.
They definitely did. They definitely did. Well, they chose violence in the upper bracket. Funnily enough, in the bottom bracket, there was less violence, resulting in now 2 draws. I can call everyone's attention real quickly while we're not going to jump to the board to show it to you. Gukesh and Richard Rapport did agree to a draw in their matchup, and so that does mean Richard Rapport will move on to face Pragnananda for that all-important 9th and 10th places.
Wow. And the battle continues. Jan there having a look at this matchup as it's being played out. Now, Hikaru's got 2 extra pawns. He's got the beautiful bishop pair. He's got Arjun's king as a target as well. But what's the plan in such positions? How do you actually convert this to the full point here?
Yeah, first you need to regroup. You've done the hard work. You've won 2 pawns. Hikaru with a nice flurry. I was going to say, guarantee he brings his bishop back now. The bishop is actually headed onto a new diagonal where the black king sits. And the black king is pretty open. Knights are normally great defenders, but they struggle against bishops when there's so many open lines. There's 2 ways Hikaru wins this. Maybe he's going to combine them both. 1, he could try to start pushing his extra pawn forward on the left side of the board. He can bully the black queen out of the way with the offer of a trade. Any exchange of the queens and the white pawn just runs through towards promotion. And 2, the second point here is that he could go for a direct attack against the black king. Most likely he tries to combine both, and small improvements. You don't have to win on the spot, you just slowly start pushing a pawn, slowly start improving and going for the attack.
I was thinking about a third one where you trade queens and try to win that endgame. For me, like that would feel the safest option that I'd want to take. Try to offer a queen trade and somehow get those queens off the board and then go to your plan A of pushing the pawns. But knowing Hikaru, I think he wants more. Perhaps wants to go for the latter. Go for the king.
I don't know. I think he'll push the pawn with the idea of trading queens along the way. I think you're right, Tanya. I think it might just all be about that little A pawn. I've actually had that against Arjun in an online rapid game as well. Bishop on the long diagonal, and then you push your A pawn forward. It promotes on that bishop's square, luckily. All seems to work out when Hikaru Nakamura plays chess. Wow, it just looks so smooth in hindsight, but there were some hiccups, there were some bumps along the way in the early stages. You just got to strike these guys, these very top guys. You've got to beat them while they're down. If you let them back into the game, they turn things around. Magnus, Hikaru, they just went up a gear after the 20th move.
Absolutely. So Magnus is in, Fabi's in, Hikaru
Looks
also about to be in. I mean, this is going to need more than a miracle, a check and expecting the queen to slide up to offer that trade, the idea that we've been talking about. Hikaru looking also to make his way into the semifinals. That's a terrible 3s. They're all true. What an awesome semis bracket we're setting ourselves up for.
Yeah, absolutely spectacular. And a showdown between Jan Nepomniachtchi and Vincent Keimer ahead of us still today.
Yeah, we know the other semi-final, I guess. Fabiano against Magnus.
Correct.
Yeah, that will be a fun one to watch tomorrow. A repeat of many, many encounters throughout the years.
The WEISSENHAUS final as well from 2024.
Here comes the pawn. Pawn is marching. A queen exchange would have only delayed the inevitable. The only way Arjun ever saves this is with a knight fork, but unfortunately the white king and white bishops are so nicely kind of huddled together, covering so many squares. Hard to imagine any knight getting in and around that king to check. And the white queen doing some nice work on her own. The pawn is just unstoppable. Actually, all of the advanced squares are pretty much covered by the bishops.
You could keep doing that, right? Push it one step, offer a queen trade on the next step. For example, here, if you go ahead with your queen, defend another square, then push your pawn one. How are you stopping this? Arjun's looking for tricks on the right side with his knights. Knights are tricky pieces. I think that's his last hope, to try to set up some kind of a trap on the right side of the board. He's going to step up with the king.
He's just playing with his food, Hikaru, here. He brings the queen back. Again, he's trying to force that exchange on his terms. So hard to keep the queens on the board now. The black queen has to defend her knight.
How do you even do that? He does step away, connects it, but now the pawn, it's coming. And the bishops are just beautiful defenders to the white king as well.
Yeah, the bishops that started life in the middle of the board, they actually started on these two central squares. Somehow they just, Hikaru would say, rotated. They just shifted across, and they just cover everything. Even without that A-pawn, I would still fancy Hikaru's chances to win this game. But of course, with it intact, it should be quite straightforward.
I mean, he's doing this clinically. After that tactic that we saw, just step-by-step precision, surgical precision here, just not giving any chance, offering a trade, pushing the pawn, giving a check.
Where to go now? He could step forward with his bishop to pin this black knight. This would allow black to defend the knight or plant another knight of his own into the center.
Somewhat spoiled for choice here.
Yeah.
Decides to hit the queen instead.
Some dilemmas aren't great in chess, I was saying earlier. They burn time on the clock, but when every move is winning, that's a decent position to be in. Kicks the queen back. Okay, what do you think Jan Nepomniachtchi and Vincent Keimer have been doing? They've finished a couple of hours ago.
Taking a nap.
Taking a nap.
Deep meditative state.
You think that? Or maybe just, actually, how do you even prepare? Yeah,
that's the thing.
That's how you prepare.
Right? It could be, I mean, again, we've heard from so many players. We heard from Christian earlier, right? Who was here with Fabiano and has been helping him in his quote unquote preparation, but really saying that a lot of that just comes down to making sure that the mental state is where it needs to be.
Hey, maybe they're watching our community stream. You know, hey Vincent, hey Jan, just in case you guys are here.
Hey Jan.
Oh, they can't see us still.
Yeah. But even again, to that end, like the another point he made is that one of the big differences between freestyle chess and standardized chess is that you have to start working from the first move. So in terms of like energy conservation, making sure you come in with enough energy that you can, persist throughout the entire length of the game. And on these days in particular, the second day of each of our knockout stages, that requires even more energy with the possibility of things like tiebreak. Those guys just played a 90-30 game. They're about to play 2 10-10 games.
And potentially more.
Exactly. So at the very least, it's like fuel up, rest up, just make sure you've got the energy so that your brain can fire through all of the different possibilities.
It's probably the best advice, right? Just get some sleep, get some rest, and just be as fresh as you can.
Ooh, we might be about to see the last move of this game. Arjun's last move allows a queen trade by force on the 7th rank. Arjun Erigaisi is about to resign. The queen's leaving the board. There we go.
What a beautiful capture of that handshake through the heads of the spectators who waited on bated breath for Hikaru to book his ticket to the semifinals. 3 of our 4 are decided as Arjun is knocked down into contention for 5th place. Hikaru already surpassing in a number of ways his performance at WEISSENHAUS 2025. It's great to see.
It was a fantastic run for Arjun throughout. And it stops now as we listen into the players.
Yeah, this one was... Yeah, this was fine, right? So that's where you can connect to it. There's something that I saw. Do you have... My rook is... Rook's in right. Do you want to... F1 D1. And your queen is on...
So as they work through the different variations, Arjun asking for a little bit of help. Where did it all go wrong? Where could I have found a resource that I left unchecked? We still have one battle to be decided. That will be done in a totally different time control, 10-10. Vincent Keimer, the defending champion from WEISSENHAUS 2025, up against the top place finisher in the round robin, Jan Nepomniachtchi.
The final spot in the semis, so much on the line for these two players. It's going down to the wires. They'll go into the rapid format to decide who will be the fourth player to take that semi-final spot. And for Arjun, it's heartbreak, right? Such a great run, everything in control, but Hikaru got that chance and just never let Arjun back in the game. Hikaru in beast mode.
Yeah, and just like we had back in WEISSENHAUS with the top seed picking Vincent Keimer, it's been on Jan to prove to us his pick, right? There's a little bit of pressure there. Of course, he wasn't able to get it done in the classical time controls, but many of us do believe his odds get better of dispatching Vincent as they jump down into the rapid portions.
It was really interesting to see how when Hikaru spotted that tactic, he actually turned around the moment, David, when you called out, being a streamer, he perhaps sees the tactics and the shots and just needs to have that little glance at the screen, turns right back, and then boom, knight takes pawn, game over.
Yeah, just incredible from Hikaru. And in the meantime, this next tiebreak we're about to see, I still think Jan Nepomniachtchi starts as the favorite on paper, just because of his performance in the round robin stage, because he's so consistent. He's always, so much experience. He's always kind of there or thereabouts when it comes to tournament conversations. But Vincent Keimer did win his last 3 games in a row